Now, I must point out to you, before we move on to the next memorial here at Yad Vashem, to understand the Israeli mentality, you must come to Yad Vashem. Many people around the world will say, why don't the Israelis cooperate this way, that way, and this way, and that way? They're paranoid. We're not paranoid, and if we are paranoid, it's for a good reason. It's for a good reason. We have a whole history of 2,000 years of persecution, and in particular of murder in the 20th century, of civilization gone mad, and the violence being directed against us. Throughout Israel's history, we have been surrounded by belligerent nations. Even the nations that are at peace with us does not mean that they like us. When I'm in Egypt and I turn on Egyptian TV, I can they show a movie. There's an English translation underneath of the movie, and it's about glorifying suicide bombers blowing up Jews inside of Israel. It's as anti-Semitic as it gets inside of Egypt. Those of you who go to Egypt, turn on Egyptian television. If you have a translation and understand what they're saying, anti-Semitism is alive and well in many of these countries. Because there's a peace doesn't mean that they like us. All right. In particular, today we had the Iranian threat when the leader of the Iranian nation says how nice that so many Jews are gathered in one place. In other words, it'll become easy to wipe you out with the push of a button. The Iranians to the world will say that we have peaceful intentions with nuclear technology. What they say to each other is something completely different. What the leaders say to their own population is something completely different. In Farsi, the language of the Persians, they're very open about what they want to do. That they want, first and foremost, to bring about the end of days with the destruction of Israel. The complete destruction of Israel. When foreign leaders, the King of Spain was in Iran several years ago. Ahmadinejad said in his opening statements that you will see that we are a great nation. We will wipe the Jews off the face of the earth with nuclear weapons. So the King of Spain was astounded about what this man was saying. But he says these sort of things all the time. All the time. And yet the world seems to have this attitude of hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. You know, folks, when Hillary Clinton makes a statement that we will retaliate against Iran if they dare send nuclear weapons against Israel, the only problem with that is that we're already dead. We're already dead. Okay, it doesn't help us. We have our own weapons as well that we remind the Iranians once in a while. And messages like, you know, we have missiles too that can hit you as well. But it doesn't seem to deter them. It's religious fanaticism going on. The United States and the Soviet Union at the height of the Cold War came very close, of course, through the Cuban Missile Crisis to having a nuclear war. But they weren't crazy. We may not like the communists, but they weren't crazy. They weren't going to destroy the world for an ideology. Okay? They understood that they would be destroyed in the process as well. The same is not true when you have an Islamic fundamentalist government in place that believes that this is a good thing because we're going to bring about the Islamic end of days in this process. And the best people that have this come about to start the battle is with the state of Israel. Today, you see Israelis walking around with guns, with rifles over their shoulders. You see us in a constant readiness and state of war, defending ourselves. The attitude that we have today is never again will we allow this to happen to us. Never again will we allow this to happen to us. If the world doesn't like what we're doing, the hell with the world. The hell with the world, because the world could care less about us during the course of our history. And it seems that with the exception of the United States, they couldn't care less about us right now. We're expendable. We're troublemakers. If we can just get the Israelis to fall in line, if Israel would somehow go away, the world wouldn't have to be with all these problems today. We can see this in some of the speeches of Barack Obama today. Let's force our ally to give away territory and to compromise with the enemies of the United States. With the enemies of the United States, because it's in the national interest of the United States. Israel, the message to us is Israel is expendable. Folks, the news here is that there is a certain line that we will allow diplomacy to go to. We keep saying, with the request of the American administration, say don't go over this one, don't go over this one. But there is a line that we all have out here somewhere that says you go over this line, that's it. That's it. Most of us understand, most of us Israelis understand that it's not if we go to war with the Iranians, it's when. It's just a question of when. And if any other nations in the world want to help us do the job, since it is in their own self-interest to do the job with us, the missiles in Iran can hit Europe, and eventually they'll be able to hit the United States as well. If you want to help us, please do it. If you're not going to help us, and you don't like what we're doing, who cares? Who cares? We're not going to die. We're not going to allow a second Shoah to happen because the rest of the world is sleeping. As I like to say to people, Israel is not Czechoslovakia before the Second World War. So we won't allow it to happen. It is not peace in our time. Peace comes through strength. And Jewish men and women picking up arms and fighting back as free men, as free women, and if we can't live as free men and free women to worship God as we choose and to live as we choose, life is not worth it. We won't allow it to happen a second time. So, whatever the world thinks.